There are certain lines you have to ask questions around. This game, highlight it, mark it with a pen, underline it again. Why is the line what it is in this game? And welcome to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. I'm Ryan Doyle. That is Steve Budin. Good to see you, sir.
All right, good to be back.
Yeah, let's start off with, a question from the mailbag, if you will, talking about betting strategy. Guys, do you ever change your betting strategy when it's not working, when you're going cold? Is that something you guys do? Steve, I'll let you tackle that question first because I think it's an interesting one.
No, it is a good question, and obviously top of mind at this stage of the season where gamblers are either doing well or not, right? And now what do? Do they switch it up? And for me, I think it's a definitive no. I think with the nature of the game being 50-50, the one thing you're assured of, if you keep your strategy consistent, the chances are, if things haven't gone well, they will turn around just based on the 50-50 nature. That being said, what I do believe in, and I think is really smart, is when you're not feeling it, and when you're not doing well, to lessen and lower your bet average and your bet totals. So I would see lowering the amount that you bet on a game. If you're a $1,000 bettor, taking that down to $500. If you're a $100 bettor, taking that down to $50. Getting your confidence back, right? Getting your feel back. And then pressing with house money. That's a strategy. To me, money management is as important, especially in a 50-50 proposition like sports gambling is. Money management is more important sometimes than actual handicapping. And to me, the professional gamblers, the guys that I respect, the guys that I follow, the guys that I check in with to make sure before I either give a pick or bet myself, even those guys at the end of a season tend to be hovering around 50-50. What makes a winning season versus a losing season is accurately rating your plays and betting more on the games that potentially win than on the games that lose. And in that lies your strategy for a winning season.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Never change your strategy. You might feel like you're going through the lowest of lows. You might feel like you're on the worst losing streak of all time. You may feel like you've gone completely cold, but never change your strategy. You can tweak it, you can fine-tune it, you can refine it, but I think the best thing, as Steve says, stay on the sidelines if you're not feeling confident and comfortable with it, but don't change your strategy because you feel like it might not be the right one at the right time. There are ways to work around that, and I think that's the better play overall if you're looking to make money. Let's talk a little bit about last night's or Thursday night's game. The Buffalo.
You were right.
I'm not trying to do
I knew that helmet was going to be there today. I wish I could have bet on that.
Yeah, you knew that was solid money, right? Minus 200 on the helmet being there. The Buffalo Bills got back on track in a big way on the Thursday nighter against the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots proved exactly what we thought they were going to be. Mac Jones is not the right guy. Bill Belichick continues to go with him, and the Bills lit it up pretty quick in a statement game.
Yeah, you said they needed to do that, and they did. I said they would win. I didn't think they would cover. That had been the trend. But I was wrong, and good for Buffalo Bill fans. Look, they scored on 4 of 8 possessions. They destroyed the Patriots. They won and covered easily, 24-10. Buffalo now goes to 9-3, which is right where they need to be. New England falls to 6-6, and like you said in your analysis, going into this game, Buffalo needed a dominant game. And you know what, Ryan? They got it. They outgained the Patriots 355 yards to 242. They had 21 more plays, so time of possession was theirs. They had 72 plays. They won the time of possession 38 minutes to 21 minutes. These are all things that you want to see as a Buffalo fan. Josh Allen, he was good enough, right? 22 of 33, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I don't know about you, but when I was watching this game, I couldn't help but think that Buffalo was just a better team with the better quarterback, and they were making it look easy. I wouldn't say the Bills are back to their best possible form, but I will say this was definitely a move in the right direction. It needed to happen. It did happen, and their overall mission in this game was accomplished.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you on that because I think that if you look at the game itself, they had an opportunity multiple times to put their foot on the throat. They didn't. They let their foot off the gas instead. I wasn't impressed with that part of it. I think if you're a championship team, you really go for the jugular. I think of the Chiefs in their real heyday when they would just blow teams off the mark right from the word go. The Bills didn't do that last night. It's hard to criticize a team who played a pretty great game. You just shared some of the stats, so they played a pretty great game. But I think that they're getting there. They're getting, baby steps, but I would look for this team because they've got a pretty soft schedule going for the rest of the season to get a lot of covers as we get towards January and get towards the playoffs. They're going to get some more momentum. They had a good combination of the run and the pass last night, so that was a good thing as well. Let's get into the Sunday games. We're going to do this in two parts, but we'll start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers playing this Sunday, of course, -1 at Atlanta. The total here, Steve, is 42.5.
Yeah, ironically enough, only a half a game separates these two teams. But, if you ask me, they're both heading in opposite directions. Mike Tomlin got another W as a dog. His Steelers escaped with a win in Indy on Monday night. Rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett, he's still improving. He looks solid leading the Steelers at the end to a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I really think he's starting to see the field effectively, and he's learning the strengths of his team. This is good news for Pittsburgh. For the Falcons, not so much good news. They've dropped 3 of 4, including a 19-13 loss against the Commanders last week. Atlanta on offense, they remind me of me in my pimple phase in junior high school. Just can't score. They've been held to 17 points or less in each of their last 4 losses. But in the NFC South, they're still in the mix. They're just a half a game behind Tampa Bay. Now, do I believe in veteran quarterback Marcus Mariota? I don't. The Steelers defense should shut him down. I'm going to take the black and gold in this virtual pick'em.
Yeah, it feels like a very easy handicap, this one. Atlanta is a team that's headed in the wrong direction. They were a team we were very hot on because they were solid as far as going against the spread to start the season. They've just lost that. I don't know if they're going to find their way for the rest of the year. And as you say, Kenny Pickett, I think, is the real deal. He's going to improve week after week. Pittsburgh's got their man. It doesn't have to be Mitch Trubisky anymore. I think Kenny Pickett is the real guy to replace Big Ben in Pittsburgh. And 1 seems light to me. I actually had this game as a 3-point spread for the Steelers. So if you're only going to tell me that's basically a pick'em game, -1, I will take the Steelers as well. And Steve and I will squad ride on that one. Dallas Cowboys -10.5 against the Indianapolis Colts. The total here, 44.
Dallas, they're not as good as their fans would like to believe, but Indy is horrible. In fact, the only thing consistent about Indy, right, I said it earlier in the week, is their offensive inconsistency. They're tied for 30th in scoring. They flat out ugly first half last week. 0 yards on offense in the first quarter. That's the second time they've done that. That's hard to do. Meanwhile, Dallas may not be elite, right, but their season is back on track. They do have a problem covering the spread, though, and this is a big spread for a team that, like Dallas, that right now seems to be focusing on the run, trying to get that run involved, maybe run to set up the pass, but they look to be a run-first team right now, and they're playing a team that can't score, so I like the under in this one. I'm going to go under the posted total.
Yeah, I'm actually, wow, that's so interesting you say that because I'm actually in agreement with you on this. I got burned with the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. The backdoor cover for the Giants got them the win, at least on the spread. 10.5 feels way too big for me to touch. And sure, the Colts are, I don't have a better term than dog shit. They are a bad football franchise. They flirt with hope. I would hate to be a Colts fan, a Colts supporter, because you watch this team every week and you think they're almost there, but then they regress. They're almost there, and then they regress. And I hate putting my money anywhere near a team like that, but I also don't trust the Cowboys to cover 10.5, once bitten, twice shy. Give me the under in this one. I think Steve's handicap is right on the button here. 44 is a high number. I don't see the Cowboys, if they're going to run the game and they run the ball and they're going to establish that run game, 44 seems high because that means a lot of clock is going to run. So I am on the under there as well. Green Bay Packers -4 at the Chicago Bears. Total here, Steve, 43.5.
Yeah, Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers, right? He's more banged up than an Atlantic City hooker. He didn't play great last game. Versus that Philly defense, 11 of 16 passing, but only 140 yards with 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. Green Bay defense, they played even worse. They gave up 363 yards rushing. That's not going to get easier against Chicago. They lead the league in rushing. Bears look pretty bad, too, in that 31-10 loss to the Jets without their star quarterback, Justin Fields. It's going to be very tough for them. This is actually a tough game to bet without really knowing who's going to play quarterback for either team. Green Bay tends to own the Bears. Just ask Aaron Rodgers. He said it. He told them, I own you. They've won and covered 7 straight against the Bears when Rodgers is at the control. So if Rodgers plays, I'll take the Packers.
It's a little easier for me. I think the handicap is on the other side for me. When I look at the Bears, if it's Justin Fields is playing, then I like the Bears a lot. But it doesn't seem like Justin Fields at this point is going to get the nod. He's not going to get the green light to be the QB under center for the Bears. So I do like the Packers. I think Chicago is basically rudderless without Justin Fields. He is the offense at this point in time. Sure, the Bears have a decent defense, but it's not going to be enough to keep either quarterback, whether it's Love, whether it's Rodgers, from scoring a whack of points. So I do like the Green Bay Packers here. But again, keep an eye on who the starting quarterback is. I think, and maybe you agree with me on this, there will be some line movement if Fields is named the starter here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're not going to be catching 4 if you're a Bears fan and Justin Fields is under center. That number's going to go the other way. But if it is someone else playing quarterback for the Bears, take the Packers minus the 4. We're going to come right back. We got a lot of great games to handicap. We got the Vikings and Jets, the Commanders and the Giants, and of course the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tennessee Titans. A lot more to come as Pocket Protection continues.
As a world champion, when I walked out of the tunnel, I knew I prepared to win. I still do today. Every game starts at Bet99.net.
Welcome to Bet99.net, Canada's home for all your favorite free-to-play casino games, slots, live dealer tables, and progressive jackpots, including Mega Moolah. At Bet99.net, you could be a winner today.
And welcome back to Pocket Protection in association with TDR, brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling. We are breaking down the big games of the week, and we continue with the Minnesota Vikings versus the New York Jets. 44.5 is the total. Minnesota -3, Steve.
Yeah, so inconsistent Zach Wilson is out. Gunslinger Mike White is in. And man, he was a one-man show versus the Bears, right? 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. But a disclaimer, right? It was the Bears. And remember, White did the same thing last season in his first start against the Bengals. He passed for like an insane 400 or 405 yards. He had 4 touchdowns in the shocking win over Cincy. But then in the next 2 games, he played horrible, was benched, never to return again. So, but I must say, I'm drinking the White Kool-Aid. I don't know if that's culturally appropriate, but I'll say it anyway. I am drinking the White Kool-Aid. I think he's ready now. And I think Jet fans and gamblers alike are feeling the same way because the line's cheap for a mini team that, at least on paper, looks heads and tails better than New York, right? I will say that the Jets have been true road warriors this season, and gamblers know that. So both straight up and versus the spread, their only loss was in New England on the road, where they always lose to the Patriots, and they were pretty close in that game. Look, if White can continue his act for another week, the game's going to come down to the wire like most mini games do. When games are close and coming down to the wire, I'm always going to take the points, so I'll do just that. I'm going to take the points with the Jets, but I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to, for the first time this season, and I've never said it because I've got some bankroll from our wins, I'm going to buy a half a point up. I'm going to take 3.5 or 4, depending on, where the line is.
There are certain lines you have to ask questions around. This game, highlight it, mark it with a pen, underline it again. Why is the line what it is in this game? Minnesota -3 seems very light to me. That's telling me that the Jets are getting a lot of respect from bettors. I like the Jets here as well. Give me the Jets, Jets, because I think that the line is telling you something, right? I think this is probably the first game in 13 weeks we look at and go, wait a minute, something's off here, no?
No, I agree. And it's just a matter of whether the gamblers are going to be right this time. They sometimes, most of the time, aren't, but in this time, I think they are.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Washington Commanders -2.5 at the Giants. 40 is the total here.
Yeah, so Giants, they overachieved for most of the first half of the season. They had, New York up in, celebrating that the Giants were back, but their luck obviously ran out. They're coming off back-to-back losses. Their injuries are mounting up on both sides of the line of scrimmage for Big Blue. Barkley did his best impersonation of the Invisible Man. The past 2 weeks, he was held to a combined 61 yards rushing across the two losses. That was against Detroit and Dallas. And all of this while Washington, man, they're flat out playing some good football. The Commanders are 6-1 straight up. They're 6-0-1 versus the line in the last 7. Pass the Heineke. I'm on Washington.
Yeah, give me a sip of that as well. I'm on Washington here all day, every day. The Commanders are red hot, as Steve mentioned, and I think the Giants are just heading in the opposite direction. The regression we expected, you're watching it happen with the New York Giants. I think they're going to struggle towards the finish line here, and I think the Commanders are going to be a big part of the Giants' problem and the part of their equation because the Giants need the Commanders to start losing and taking L's, and they're not going to in this game. Give me the Commanders minus the 2.5. Very light line there, and it's under the number, which I like, of course, under the number of 3. Philadelphia Eagles minus 5 versus the Tennessee Titans. The total here, 45.
Well, things haven't been easy for Philly the last couple of weeks, and I think you're getting value here in this line because of that, but that's if you're an Eagle believer. I'm not. Prior to the loss to Cincy, Tennessee won 7 out of 8 outright. They covered all 8 of those games. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. I'm taking the Titans plus the points.
Yeah, ask yourself this question. What do the Philadelphia Eagles do poorly? Because they do a lot of great things. They're dynamite on offense. They've got a lot of great weapons. But what do they do poorly? The answer, they don't defend the run properly. What does the Tennessee Titans do effectively? They run Derrick Henry. They run Derrick Henry. Say it again with me. They run Derrick Henry. That's what they're going to do in this game. Philadelphia minus 5.
Another thing the Eagles don't do well is cover games. That's important.
We saw that against the Texans this is not a good cover team. I love the Titans. I think that they were still in that game against Cincinnati going into the fourth quarter. I watched the game very thoroughly. I like the Titans here catching points. 5 is way too high for me. This game is a bit of a challenge. The Seattle Seahawks minus 8, which I didn't have this anywhere close to 8 at the Los Angeles Rams. I had these teams I want to go back to my notes, but at a 3-point spread. 8 seems super high to me, Steve. Are you in agreement?
It does, but this is not as much about how good Seattle is as it is about how bad the Rams are. Seattle, they're not as good as I thought. I'll admit that. But the Rams, man, the Rams are pathetic. They lost 5 in a row, and if it weren't for the Bears, they'd have the worst record in the NFC. Quarterback Matt Stafford, he's out, sidelined, or at least potentially sidelined, should be sidelined. I think that's another reason why we're seeing this number. Meanwhile, Seattle had a tough loss last week, but Geno Smith played good. He produced 27 of 37 attempts passing for 328 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. So Geno continues to, buck the trend of how bad gamblers thought he was heading into this year. He's been consistent. Hard for me to believe, but it's true. I'm going to take Geno in this one. I'm going to take Seattle minus the big wood. It is a lot of wood, but without Stafford, I think they cover that spread.
Let me just sum this up for everybody out there. I had the Seahawks to close a parlay on the money line last week against the Raiders. It went to overtime, and then they let the Raiders run the ball back, 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. And I turned the TV off and probably never wanted to watch football again. So I'm not touching this game. San Francisco minus 4 against Miami. The total here, 46.5.
So listen, I'm trying to stay unaffected by all the Dolphin fever around me here in Miami. Dolphin fans are pumped up, and rightfully so. They're playing great football. The question in this game is, can the Dolphins become the first team to score in the second half against the Niners since week 7? This is a team that's pitched a shutout of 4 straight second half games. That being said, Tua does have the talent, and he does have the arsenal to do it. But also don't underestimate that Dolphin defense that's much better than the stats would lead you to believe, but only when they're at home. On the road, their defense seems to fall asleep. So I find it hard to bet on Miami in this one. San Fran, they're just too good of a home team. If this was in Sun City, I give the Dolphins a chance. But at home, I'll lay the points with San Francisco.
Yeah, strong agreement on that one. This Niners team looks destined to make a really deep run in the playoffs, if not go to the Super Bowl. They've got a great defense, and defense wins football games. Never mind Miami's defense. The Niners are just on fire. pitching shutouts against teams like the Saints and whatnot last week. 4 seems light, so I will take the Niners minus the 4 points. That's an easy one for me. KC -2 at Cincinnati. Total here 53.
So Cincinnati beat a team in Tennessee that I believe is a bit overrated last week. I don't think that's too big of a deal. They also knocked the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl last year. That's a bigger deal. I think KC hasn't forgotten that. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Kansas City also beat a nobody last week with the Rams, so no extra bonus points for that. I think this is a good line, Ryan. I think this is the one line this week that's actually the right line. So if you believe this is the same Bengals team from last year, then you should be all over them and bet the house on them. I don't. I'm going to take the Chiefs minus the deuce.
I do believe this is the same Bengals team from last year. They're starting to cook, man. They're looking good. They shut down Tennessee, who is a team I'm very bullish on, as I mentioned earlier. I like the Bengals getting points at home. This feels right to me, but you're right about the line. 2 feels right where it needs to be, but I'll catch the points because I do like the Bengals. But I think Steve's synopsis of that is right on the button. The -2 is right where this game belongs. I do like the Bengals getting the points here at home. Tampa Bay -4 against those Saints. Oof, what a team, though. Those Saints, something else. 43.5 is the total.
Yeah, it's a good thing that people are drinkers in New Orleans because maybe they don't notice this as much as everyone else does.
Is it Mardi Gras yet? Is it Mardi Gras yet?
When the Saints are playing like this, it's always Mardi Gras. I mean, no, it's bad news for them. Look, but also, is it me or does the Brady Bucks right now remind you of the 2019 Patriots in Brady's last season with Bill Belichick? They stalled down the stretch. They got limped into the playoffs. They got KO'd early by the Titans in the playoffs. Look, I think this game isn't about who's better. I think it's about who's worse. And we agree that the Saints are definitely worse. But with 2 limp offenses like this game should be sponsored by Cialis. That being said, unders cashed in 9 of 11 times for the Bucs so far this year. The unders also 4-1 the last 5 times these 2 teams faced off. Once again, I'm going to go under the posted total here.
Yeah, wow, with you on that as well. Don't touch the line, don't touch the side. It's just not worth your dough in this game because honestly, it could be a coin flip in this situation. The total is attractive though, 43.5. That's showing a little leg to me. I'm going to buy you a drink at 43.5. So I'll cozy up to the bar and join Steve on the under on that one because I think that's way too many points for offenses that just aren't clicking. They're rudderless. They're finding their identity still way late in the season, and I just don't think anything of either of these teams. So yeah, give me the under. 43.5 is the posted total. Steve, always a pleasure, sir.
We're on a lot of the same games this week. I hope we win. We'll have a lot to talk about next week.
I think the book should be terrified if that's the case. It's always dangerous when Steve Budin and I are on the same side. Pocket protection in association with TDR brought to you by Bet99 Sportsbook. Every game starts at Bet99.com. We are responsible gambling.